So I asked my friend Ozzie Stewart, who you will get to know in this interview, I asked her to do a podcast with me. She has her own unbelievable podcast, which I listened to. I listened to a lot of it, actually, Ozzie, and I enjoyed the people. I understood why you chose them. They're diverse, they're funny, they're hardworking, they're interesting. So we're going to say hello to Ozzie Stewart. Hi, Ozzie.
Hey. Glad to be on. Thanks for the invite, Betty.
Well, I can't think of anybody who I think I don't mean to embarrass you. I think you're aspirational. I think you're somebody that the more people will listen to you, the more you give people courage, you give them guts, you have gumption, you do things like you were just talking about editing for like 6 hours. I mean, that's fantastic. Tell us, what do you want to say about yourself?
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. You and I really got to know each other in the what we call the industry, the entertainment.
I guess. People said, well, you're an actress. I said, nah.
Yes. As an actress, and we've done a particular project last year.
Yeah.
Which kind of even brought us a little closer because we were able to sit and share a little bit.
Right.
Especially as was it 2 nights or 3 nights we're in Maryland.
Yes.
And we were able to share and care.
Oh, yeah.
So that was a really nice bond.
Yeah.
Even though we'd done another project and whatnot before. But some of the questions that you had asked me then showed me just how similar is a word, but how connected you and I are in terms of our history in a bit.
Yes.
In a sense, right? So, who am I? As a young girl, I had dreams of
I'd love to hear this.
Of being like a Margot Fontaine.
Oh.
I don't know Margot Fontaine.
Yes. Oh, my God. Great.
But I was living in Trinidad, grew up in Trinidad, and as a young girl, with my mother putting me into ballet school at the age of 6, I had my best friend who passed in her teens. And that's another story. But she lived like on the hill, and I was down on the street level. And so we would conduct our ballet classes with one another. Well, she was up on the gallery in her house, and I was down in the gallery in mine. And we dreamt of being in the entertainment business and becoming like a Margot Fontaine, the Black Margot Fontaines, and also being able to be kick-ass fighters like these stars, the female stars. And they were Asian, Indian, and Chinese fighters who used to beat up on the bad guys.
Right.
So we had aspirations of being as gentle as a ballet dancer at the same time.
And it's powerful.
Yes, and powerful. And later on, her name was Cecile. When she passed, I was living in England. My family's living in England at the time, but moved on from that dream to dancing in the local dance theater, Astor Johnson Dance Theater, and traveling internationally with that. And then later musical theater with Derek Walcott, who was a Nobel laureate, and also traveling internationally. And through Derek, I was able to work with people like Roscoe Lee Brown. Some people don't know who he is. And James Earl Jones, and work with Galt McDermott, who did the musical score for Hair and Cotton Comes to Harlem and stuff like that. So I was able to touch touch or be touched by some really heavy people, which kept me my dream alive in a sense.
Yes.
And
But
then I was encouraged to come to the US by a fellow trainee who was dancing with the third company of Alvin Ailey's here in New York, and encouraged me to come up and audition for scholarship. And I did, and I got that. And that was the time when Ailey's was over at 59th Street and Third, between Second and Third. And
was that as a dancer?
Sorry,
As
a dancer. Yeah, as a dancer.
Wow.
And then around the corner, a couple of blocks up from Ailey's at that time on the east side was Martha Graham. And Martha Graham was wonderful to be able to, at that time, she was getting on in years, but to be able to be tutored by her was just an enormous, enormous thing. And I got a scholarship there. And then because my background was in ballet, I went to try to get a scholarship at Joffrey Ballet, which was a little tougher, but I got it. And so my life was from 7 a.m. to 7 at night was dance. It's pure dance.
I had no idea. Wow.
It was lovely. It was a great experience. It was just a joyful time. It was at the time where actually Madonna was taking classes at Ailey's, and that time we were scrunting was the word, meaning we had no money. And so we would go to Dunkin' Donuts around the corner on Third Avenue and live off of noodles, what do you call it? Chicken noodle soup and the saltine crackers. I never forgot. And at that time, she was always in black, still always in black, very, very gaunt and almost opaque complexion, and very, 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 very serious about where she was heading, what she was going to do, and all that. And it turned out she accomplished exactly what she wanted to do. But it was interesting to look back at that time. So after that, though, during scholarship at Ailey's, I was on the third callback for Bob Fosse's All That Jazz.
Oh God.
And I was excited as though I'd all get out. And that was sneaking out from scholarship class because we weren't supposed to audition. But if I was going to get that, I was going to leave and go. And
yeah.
Right? But because all the kids were doing it. But my friend who invited me up, he was returning with his group from a performance. Their bus crashed. And one of the dancers died, and he almost lost his leg. And,
oh my gosh.
Yep. And at the time when it's funny when you're a star, because he was a star in the third company, and people are always around you and whatnot. But when he was down, there was nobody, and so I left the dance and took care of him.
That must have been a hard. You left dancing and took care of him. Is that what you said?
Yeah. Yeah. I was dating the guy actually who was the road manager, and we both were there for him because he was a big guy. He's like 6'3". But and then after that, I just left that whole life. And around that time was Studio 54 and Ice Palace and Limelight, and that's where I took my dance on the dance floor. I
bet I saw you at Studio 54.
Good. Yeah. Grace Jones and all those crazy people. Yeah.
What a story. This is Misty Copeland.
Oh, well, Misty's a whole different.
Yes,
man. Oh man. Yeah. So basically, that was my intro to the US actually. And so I left the arena. And later on, I got involved in, I was always, working for other people was always a tough thing for me. So at one point I decided I'm gonna open up my own showroom. I wanted to get into the what I call the other kind of entertainment, which was the fashion business.
Right, right. It's
And so
entertainment.
I got into it from the ground floor with a titan. Her name was, never forget her, Teresa Matthews, and she was working in the women's Missy Junior arena. And I started with her learning the business as a receptionist, and receptionist moved into being a receptionist assistant, and then she around that time, she didn't tell me, but apparently she was getting ready to go on her yearly sabbatical. Every 7 years, she would go around the world, take a tour around the world. So 6 months in with her, when I'm learning the business, then she drops that on me and lets me know that somebody else is going to come in and take over, what she was doing. And of course, when that happens, the new people ostracize the old. And I was lucky because I used to come in like, I don't know, 6 o'clock in the morning, leave at like 6, 7, 8 o'clock, sometimes at night. And the guy who ran the showroom across from me, he had stopped me one day and he said, do you own this business? I'm like, no. Why is it you always here early and late? I said, well, I'm learning and I want to move. I want to get somewhere with this. That time I had my son and I was like, yeah, I have a child and should anything happen, I need to be somewhere, do something. And he says, well, anytime you are ready to move on, you let me know, young lady. And when Teresa left and those new people came in and I realized I was being shut down, I knocked on the door and his name's Phil. Phil, I'm ready. He said, and I said, but I'm going to give 2 weeks notice. He says, well, it's Friday. I'm going to let you know that you are able, if you want to, you can come in here on Monday. I said, well, I have to give 2 weeks. He says, yeah, you can give 2 weeks, but this is the fashion industry. You let them know that you're giving 2 weeks. They're going to shove you right out the door the same day. And so said, so done. And I was working for him on the the following Monday, which was great. Better money, major responsibility. Now I'm working in the men's arena, which I love.
Oh my.
Loved. But now he gave me the entire US's territory in the smaller stores. Not the majors like the Macy's and what, but the smaller stores to cut my teeth right on.
Right.
So 2 weeks later from joining him, I had to get ready to make appointments to go to the biggest fashion trade show in the US. It was in Vegas.
Oh my God.
I ended up going twice a year. So with the territory that's coming and having to make appointments, my peer who was working in the major market, she was double and triple booked in the appointment book. It couldn't find space. I couldn't land one appointment.
Really?
Couldn't land one hard appointment that I could put in the book unless I lied, and I wasn't about to do it.
Right.
But I was calling, and I'm calling the Midwest and whatnot. And I'm hearing, "Oh, where are you calling from, sweetie?"
Right.
That kind of. And you hear the Midwest accents. What's your name?
Right.
Ozzie, that's a girl's name.
Oh.
It's that whole thing.
Yeah.
When I got out there with all the calls, everybody stopped by to see who Ozzie was, and then finding out Ozzie was also a Black woman. And then the spot they gave me to work was on a corner. And that corner, I had the traffic going from east, west, north, and south. So what I did was, and let me tell you, the company I was working for was huge, huge. And I was scared. I was so scared. And so what I did was, anytime like Peter would come and he'd visit, he'd start talking and I'd show him the line, I had the line down packed. And as I roped him in when he sat down, somebody else passed by to see who Ozzie was. I said, hey, James, meet Peter. Peter, I'm going to continue the line. James, you catch up. This is where we are. And I would run it. I did not eat lunch for 4 days. The show started at 8. I left there at 8 because people would come by in the evening for me to help them merchandise their line, based on for their stores. Man, and all men. And I didn't dress slutty. I dressed sharp. Every day I was sharp. I was spanking. So they would come by and, of course, the guys would want to hit on you. And instead of, you want to come to dinner, like, well, we'll go to dinner. Perhaps it depends on how busy I am, but I got to see an order, that kind of thing. And they were all game for years after that. They would still stop by. But it was fantastic. Every evening, the owner of the company would say, we expect you for dinner. I'd say yes. And I never got there because by the time I finished working with my customers, I would be so tired. All I could do is go to my room. Yeah. But when I left that trade show, my first experience in the men's business, my paper was huge, which caused a problem with my peer because it turned out that all those appointments she had were wind. Oh, yes. So, but it was fantastic. So that was my first foray into the fashion industry. And then from there, I worked, from that company, I worked as a rep, a while later because I wanted to see how it was like on the streets. And up to today, my boss from that repping company is still my good friend.
Is that right?
Yes, to today. As a matter of fact, I was doing some YouTube videos and I have him on one, and he came in from Long Island, from the Hamptons. He's out there. And he came in and we talked and whatnot, but I put it on ice for a while. He asked me to put it on ice for a while. So, yeah, still friends. Yeah. So then after that now, I had this idea of having my own showroom. I don't want to work for anybody anymore. I'm going to have my own showroom.
Already. Right.
Yes. And I got it right in the same building that I started in, which was right on 42nd Street and Broadway. We're above the Gap, which was there at the time, looking out right on Broadway there. And we were doing really, really well. I had, about 6 employees towards the end. And I had a way, when we do the fashion shows, the trade shows, the way I set up my showroom was I had different lines, different designers. And I had one person working with each line, each designer line, so that when we went out to the trade shows, each person knew the line and they knew the business and they would come home with the paper. Whereas other reps, what they would do is that they would be the only one working 4 or 5 lines. So they were chasing their tails, running from booth to booth to booth and not bringing home a lot of people. Anyway, so yeah. But then towards the end of that, I needed a change.
That's very intense.
And then I dropped back into the entertainment business.
Right.
Based on a friend of mine who pulled me into his film and pushed me to do off-Broadway plays and commercial agent. And, by this time I'm middle-aged and I'm like, really? But he was so intensely...
well, he believed in you.
Yes, he really, really did. He really, really did. And for a year, I had him pushing and prodding and asking and teaching and pulling me into readings and then he passed away suddenly. And his last words to me have kept me moving forward.
Tell me what they are. Can you tell me?
Don't make me wrong. Said it just like that. And he took his finger with every word and prodded me in my chest. Don't make me wrong.
Wow.
And here I am.
And here you are.
Since 2003.
But everything we've listened to is that you started with something that you learned about and exceeded everyone's expectations, including your own. I mean, where you get that drive, is there any part of you that says, I can't do this? What am I, crazy?
Sure.
I can't do this.
Sure.
No.
I said that for a minute. When this whole acting thing came back, I'm like, okay, I'm middle-aged and whatnot. Commercials? You got to be kidding. What are you talking about? But then I saw and understood and read it as, if I can be, for instance, in the garment industry business and have learned from marketing other people's goods, that if you're selling to somebody and they're saying no today, don't look at it as rejection, because tomorrow you could call them up and they change their mind. Maybe they're saying no today because perhaps they got up off of the bed in the wrong side. They had an argument with somebody. So it's not always because of you. So with that from the garment industry, bringing it to now selling myself, marketing myself, then getting a no when I walk into the room is no big deal.
I got it. I get that. I worked in the garment industry. I was a model. I mean, for so long. It was so different then than it is now. You worked with certain guys, and there were runway models and there were photography models, and
and there were fit models. I had a good friend. She was working as a fit model with all the major designers. She made a ton of money.
What was her name?
I'm trying to remember her name because I needed to connect with her again, because I'd love, and I got close with her. Now I got to call. I'm embarrassed to call another friend of mine who I introduced her to, who might know her name.
Right.
I've got to be ready for the onslaught of what's going to come from this particular friend who's going to say, what the Jesus.
What the hell? Let me ask you something. So you're doing a podcast now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I listened to it, and I'm impressed with it. I liked everything about it. I liked the people you chose. I liked that it was wonderful. It was exciting. They were interesting. Tell me about, how did the podcast come about, and where do you want to go with it?
Okay, so back in, 2020, 2019, and I've always lived a pretty healthy life. But I think in April or May, I felt really low health-wise.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't know what was going on. So I went to get checkup, and I don't really like doctors, but I go for the doctors just to check up on the blood and whatnot, because I'm not taking prescriptions. I never have, I never will. And they always want to push some kind of prescription on you.
Right.
So they didn't want me to leave the office without a prescription for high blood pressure. It was extremely high, like 168 or something.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, and I refused to take it. No, ma'am, we can't let you leave, blah, 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 blah. And I promised them that to give me a couple of weeks, I'm going to do it on my own terms and bring it out, and I'll come back. So they finally let me leave. And I brought it back down to like 128 or whatever, right? So, but during that time, I said to myself, oh my God, I'm really getting old.
Yeah.
I'm really getting old, getting up there. So if something would have happened to me now, there's so many people in my life I have to thank.
Oh.
And yes, I could send out cards and whatnot. But for somehow, I guess, praying one morning, the idea came to me. When I say in the entry to every podcast, it's actually the truth. I'm on a thank you tour till my last days, and every podcast is a thank you card. to the person who has impacted me and my life in one way or another. So
Oh,
everyone that I have had have impacted me on my life. So until I run out of those people and I begin other people who have not been in my life for years or whatnot, this is my tour.
geez, that's so beautiful. You know,
There's
it's interesting you say that. I watched, I think on Netflix, Bruce Springsteen did Letter to You is the name of the album and the show. And it was a letter to, just like what you're saying, to people who were fans, people who weren't, whatever. But it was, this is a time to give back. Ozzie, that is really nice.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other part of it too is that I thought, well, by doing this, maybe this is something they can keep on their files. I sent everybody a copy with the flyer that they can have for their files, because maybe it's something that their children, their friends, would like to have. Because a lot of times people talk to other people about themselves, but they don't talk about to their families about themselves.
Yeah.
So, and also, it could be a learning experience to the children, their family, their partners, or whomever. So, yeah, this is what this means. I am, with what we're going through with COVID and everything else, we don't know. Like I have lost so many people that I've known, been associated with. I'm up to 21. The 21st is my cousin, Ruli, out in Arizona. She passed.
Oh, no.
So, it's like we don't know. And for me, even though it's, the editing is a pain in the what.
Ass.
Yes. I want to reach out to as many people as possible, because we don't know.
No, we do not know.
Yeah. I mean, I could be talking to you today and something could happen to me, So at least there's something out there for people who cross my path that could say that, we had a conversation, and I appreciate them. And I thank you for being in my life. And I thank you for inspiring me, or whatever it is.
Isn't that wonderful? They must be, it's such a connection between you and the people you interview. And it's not interview. You give these people like a stage. You give them like a place where they can, feel good about themselves and talk about what they do. And they're enthusiastic. I mean, I just guess that I want people to hear you. I want people to reach out and think to themselves, she does that. Like I do a podcast, but I don't edit it because I don't know how. But you do. Ozzie does. She taught herself how. And where I'm,
you're doing the same thing. You're doing the same thing you are by reaching out like this to me or whomever. You're doing the same thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I'm so enjoying hearing your story. You talked about early in this, you talked about Margot Fontaine. Were you talking about, did you see the Red Shoes?
Sure.
Oh, that movie. Sometimes I used to say years ago that I felt like I put on the red shoes and I couldn't stop. I just couldn't slow down.
Yeah, not many people know Margot Fontaine. They don't even remember Baryshnikov. They don't remember Rudolph. You know what I mean? It's all these old guys. But I guess I still live in that world, and a lot of us who have been of our time also remember. But it's that's one of the reasons I like film noir. Like a lot of people look at a lot of new series and whatnot out television and whatnot. I have a tendency to to
Like what? What have you watched?
I love the old black and whites, but not the regular ones that you see all the time that running there. And I also I have this thing for Hopalong Cassidy on a Saturday, Sunday morning.
I get it. Hopalong Cassidy. Oh
Perry Mason on a week morning, the old Perry Mason, not the new one, that kind of stuff. So
where do you get that stuff?
There's a channel called Jersey Madison. I'll find it. I'll get to Me something, but I know the channel on the TV. Like for here, it's channel Perry Mason's on channel 33 in New York.
The old one,
right? Yeah, and channel 33 has a lot of those old westerns and whatnot. It's Jersey.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Hi-Yo Silver.
So, well, it's okay. It's Tracked Down. It's
wow.
Oh God! Now that we're talking, Dead or Alive. It's Wagon Train. It's what's his name? Chuck Norris. I can't remember.
Chuck Norris was
not Chuck Norris. It's Chuck.
Yes, I know who you mean.
Tall, skinny, blonde. Yes, it's a lot of great. But again,
Morrow. Remember Vic Morrow?
Oh, Kojak. Remember Kojak? I'm trying to find Kojak.
And Peter Falk. What was he in?
Columbo. Columbo. Yes. So I'm an old head. Yes. So
there's
the question.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. There's what?
This is your amazing time.
Like a lot of times we get the same movies that the postman always rings twice. And
God, I love that.
But those are things that are played over and over and over and over. And there's so many other, I can't even give you the names of them. There's so many other old ones that are not seen all the time that this channel 33 brings you, which you should check out.
I'm going to find, that's not Turner Classic Movies.
And also, no. And it's also channel 1250, 1250.
Wow.
On a Sunday night, all film noir, a lot of the old film noir with a lot of names that, you don't normally you hear about or talk about, I
want to tell you about something I watched on PBS.
Yeah.
And I hope everybody else watches it. Mm-hmm. It was Harry Belafonte. I mean, if my daughter hears this, and I know she will, I am still to this day in love with Harry Belafonte. It is.
Oh my God.
I was Deo. I mean, I was from the first minute I saw him, but now there's they did a thing called Harry Belafonte Sit-In, and Johnny Carson was going to be away for a week. And of all the choices he had, he chose Harry Belafonte to take over his week.
Wow.
And Harry Belafonte had on 39-year-old Martin Luther King Jr.
Wow.
He had Paul Newman. He had Nipsey Russell, but he had Bobby Kennedy. He had on the most amazing, interesting.
Yes.
It was very much
diverse
of its time in terms of diversity.
Yes.
It was very much of its time. It was during the war. Martin Luther King was 39 years old when he died.
Yes.
I mean, God.
Yes.
And Harry Belafonte, I mean, just so you're talking about, Perry Mason and all this. Harry Belafonte was performing with Petula Clark and they were singing a song and she reached over and touched his arm and the whole world went crazy.
Yes.
I mean, what the hell? I mean, what were they thinking of? What,
Yeah.
I mean, why haven't we just just gone so much beyond that?
Yeah. I mean, when we look at the world today, you would have thought, all the things that have come through the it's like a pus, you know,
Yes,
everything was lying under there, sort of like dormant, you know,
yes,
and then it was opened up and it all spilled out, and so we could really see what's happening today, how
yes,
far things have come from that time to now,
yes,
and hopefully, yeah, I know the whole pus isn't going to be cleaned out like ignore, totally, but we got to have hope that the division now, it's a long hope because with I hate to say the name, the rump out there is just
right.
something happens that quells, uh, calms things down
Yes,
to to not that it's hidden or becomes dormant again, where everybody becomes ostriches, but people begin to really look and see each other.
someone said that, and we can't go into long politics because it's
Right.
not relevant. People will listen to this in 10 years,
Yeah.
Um, but someone said that the man who's been the president, he has the ability to make people feel good about things they used to feel ashamed about.
Which this present one here?
Yeah, people used to hide
Right.
how
Well, yeah.
much hate,
Yeah.
and he gave them permission
Sure.
to scream and yell and
Sure.
whatever.
Sure. Because he's of that ilk. And that's what he's known. And he's it's a pretty broken thing because that's something he's learned, he's had to learn. And where did that come from? It's been handed down from him, from his father, right? Same way it's being handed down to his kids, the junior, right?
Yes.
So you could see that, that pattern happening, and how to break that with people who are actually dying from COVID, and to the death's door, they're still saying, no, it's not COVID, it's a flu. How do you break that?
Is that right? They are.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's the flu.
He said it's not COVID, it's a flu. It's a flu. So that's what it is. Last breath drawn.
Maybe the backlash, or maybe will flip and will the kindness and compassion, and I mean, really, people who are horrible are not coming. That's not coming from a beautiful place. That's not coming from a place where people feel good about themselves. um I i I hope that I can meditate and I can understand what's really important in this world. And it's very hard to focus. But when you do, this has been going on since forever. The Buddha says
Correct.
life can be suffering. So maybe we're gonna turn around. I mean, just that we're having the conversation, I feel love towards you. And and other people, I know that's a better way to feel. That's what can I say?
Well, like one of the things you had, one of the people that I was thinking about that I would love to sit with is this guy called Jay Shetty.
Talk about the Jay Shetty.
Right. So
go ahead. That's
now at 33, after being 3 years a monk and being in debt for, and then getting into coaching, and now his mission is to make wisdom go viral. Those are the kind of people that I am hoping, because you have got this other guy who has a company called Mind Valley. People like that who are pulling in people to make them think in different ways, to open their minds.
Yes.
Like one of the Jay's things is, one of the things he said was gratitude boosts his immune system, his mood, and his sleep.
Yes.
His other things are celebrate yourself, strive. I think he said something like starve your distractions, feed your focus, go the extra mile. It's more crowded.
It's true. It's
never crowded.
Absolutely true.
Right.
Yeah.
I think those kind of, the more people flow to these types of people, I'm hoping that their minds become more open, because no matter what, there is more browning of the population.
Oh, absolutely.
And with the browning of the population, minds are open. That's just there for everybody to see. That's the fear that people are fighting. Right?
Yes.
So, and seeing that is happening more and more and more, which is causing the fight to become more severe, more angry against it. The wave is taking over, and that's what needs to happen.
Yes. And that's what needs to happen.
The thing for me is, it would be lovely to have the minds open with, aside from that, let's call it collaboration, where the browning happens. That people in their separate cells, their white skins and their brown skins, their separate cells, can really have their minds open before they collaborate. Let's say that, right?
Yes.
That would be a lovely thing. But hopefully Joe Biden will become that consequential guy like Truman was, that could pull the necessary forces to move it along. Not 100%, but just move it along.
Somewhere I read that someone had said, why would any country take 1/3, 1/2 of its manpower, woman power, and make slaves out of them, instead of letting them be part of the world and make this world a better place, a stronger place? And why do we not, I feel sad that we know nothing. I know nothing about the American Indians. They have so much to offer us. They're magical. They're understanding of the ground, of the animals.
Did you see the Thanksgiving parade? For the first time I watched it.
What about that?
To see the American Indians in there, to see all the different ethnicities given a chance, even if it was for seconds. They
gave them a chance. That American Indian woman, God, she was powerful.
Yes. And that, again, is a sign of where things are heading. The forces and sources are going to constantly fight for as long as they can. One of the people that I would never like to sit down with right now is Lindsey Graham. Because to come from where he was and how he was with, what you call him?
McCain.
Yes. And to be as he is now is just, of all of the crazies like that out there, he is the one, because we already know what, and I hate to say the other word, the MC is.
Right.
Who heads that? But that is one person I would not want to sit
Well,
with.
so that leads me to the question of who you would like to have dinner with, and
Jay Shetty.
Who? Oh,
Jay Shetty.
I don't blame
I would like
you.
to sit down and pick his brain and to be, brought into his mission for wisdom, because that's what we need, the wisdom.
Yeah.
Everybody talks about money and whatnot. The wisdom is what allows for other things to happen. So Jay Shetty, yes. This other cat, no.
Lindsey Graham.
No.
Mm-mm. I saw there is a movie about a painter named Mark Rothko, and the movie's called Red, and it's incredible. And his paintings sell for so much money, and he would be appalled. He had paintings that they put in the Four Seasons restaurant. They gave him in the 50s $35,000, and he gave them, I don't know how many paintings. And he went to the Four Seasons, and he sat there, and his paintings were there, and he was an artist, and he needed the money. And he said the next day he called up the architect who designed Philip Johnson, the Four Seasons restaurant, and he said, I want all my paintings back, and I am going to give you your $35,000 back. I don't want my paintings to sit in a room with food that costs that much money, that's food like that, around people who have no idea what my art is like. My art is being damaged by being in this room. The Four Seasons being such an incredible restaurant. And he pulled his paintings out of there because that was not where he wanted to be. And I am so impressed with that. I mean, he did that. And the family said, we didn't have any money. He took all the money, but he said, I don't want the kind of people that sit in those expensive restaurants and eat that kind of food and pay that kind of money and don't even look at my work. I want more for my work.
Right.
Imagine.
Can't blame him. That's mindfulness. That's mindfulness. And that's exactly what Jay Shetty is about as well. That is one aspect of mindfulness.
Yes.
And knowing your worth.
And knowing your worth and hanging and staying with it. I mean, I watched the movie Red, which is very good. And it's with Alfred Molina, and it's wonderful. And it's about him. But then this documentary on PBS, I mean, he talked about it. He said, I don't care who says what. I don't want my paintings in there. They're too good for, I mean, we have to stand for something. And I think one of the things, like Van Jones said, what am I going to say to my kid, my daughter, when this election happened and when he heard the results, he said, I'm going to tell her not to bully, not to lie, not to cheat, and then this happens. So you would go with Jay Shetty. That's who you'd want to have.
Yeah, because I want
Margot Fontaine, but
stick with her in the history books.
Yeah.
But
I would want to have dinner with Harry Belafonte.
Huh?
I would want to have dinner with him.
Because I'm looking at him. This guy is now 33 years old. When 26, he was in debt, right?
Jay Shetty.
Yeah. He was in debt. And he spent 3 years as a monk. Now I think his Instagram is like 6 million followers.
Is it?
His Facebook page is 26 million followers.
26 million.
Wow. His YouTube is 7 billion views. 7B as in billion views. He is one of the Forbes 30 under 30.
Is he?
And he has the #1 health podcast out there. health. So, he's just beginning. He's 33 years old.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, I'm looking here on he wrote a book called Think Like a Monk.
Yeah.
See, I take a yoga class. There's a guy out here named Jai Sugreen, and he's incredible. And we all did like a 6:30 to 7:30 class, and we meditated at the end, and we all were so relaxed. And he said, "Can everyone promise me something? Please don't watch the news when this is over.
Mm-hmm.
Please don't go to the next news cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Find something better to do with your mind."
Mm-hmm.
And I think well, you're telling me that I can find Jay Shetty on YouTube. I've listened to him. I think he's pretty amazing. But I could do it on YouTube, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. He has his podcasts and stuff there. Yeah. 7 billion with a B.
Billion. Oof, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But that goes to show there's a need, doesn't it?
Correct. And should there be, 7 billion kids worldwide. Of that, what is their percentage in the US, And of those in the US, how many minds are moving forward with the idea of wisdom rather than division and, all this other ugliness? Growth, mindfulness. So,
and not weirdly, but I'm starting to just understand a lot of what I hear when I'm meditating. I listen to this French monk, that Mathieu Richard. I'll send you his information.
Mm-hmm.
And he just says some beautiful things. And it's starting to really make sense, not just, oh, gee, that's not, but it really makes sense. That's possible. A lot of the screwed up things in our head are not permanent. They're impermanent, so they could go away.
Correct.
So we could live a different kind of life.
Correct. So even let's say with COVID, if we had a different person running the country with COVID, the mindset would be different.
Yes.
Just with that alone. You wouldn't have people dying saying this is fake news.
Fake news, and people are,
you know what I mean? Yeah. They wouldn't be saying, no, this is not COVID, this is a flu. That's like it's doing the fake news thing.
Right.
You wouldn't have, so again, the mindset would be different now. Could the mindset be changed in the 4 years that Biden would be in? Hopefully some. Hopefully with the same way that Lindsey Graham can talk his stuff and yet fist bump Kamala,
yeah,
for everybody to see and pat her on the back. Hopefully people would say, these guys aren't serious. It's just all talk. Just like MC said, things will move on and everything else that is said is just said. It's just words, pretty much. Yeah. So in other words, we will say what we need to say, how we need to say, when we need to say it. But, the reality is that Biden would be in. Why do you need to say what you need to say, the way you need to say? Why do you need to do all that? Why the theater? Everybody needs a stage. It's all about the money, collecting as much money between now and the end of the reign. Bringing in as many people as they can so that, Georgia might be affected, so that 2022 and 2024 and all this other stuff, instead of, guy, put on a damn mask.
I was in a store today, and we talked, I live in Rhinebeck, and there's a sign when you walk into kind of town, which is not, so it's like one long block, and it said, please respect our wishes and wear a mask.
Right.
And everybody does.
Mm.
And there was a woman in a store, like flaunting the fact that she didn't want to wear a mask.
Yeah.
And the woman that owned the store said, "I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to ask you to leave."
Mm-hmm.
And she said, "Why?" And she started a fight. She was looking for someone to start a fight with her. And I thought, why would she not? Why? What's such a big deal to put a mask on? Maybe it's right, maybe it'll help somebody. Maybe, I don't know.
You see, what the whole thing is like, if you were to sit down and talk to people about why they are, or why they support this guy at the top, their answers are really not
No.
salient. They're not intelligent. They're not.
No,
It
they're
usually
not.
comes down to, well, I just want something different. Or he's just doing what needs to be done. Or blah, 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 blah. It's like blah, 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 blah. But this guy is very astute at being able to turn up that sort of mess, because that's how all he knows. That's what he lives on. So he's become really, really masterful at being able to do that.
He is.
And unfortunately, there's so many sheep. It's a country of sheep.
We're better than
that. But yes, better than that. And thank God, even though the country wants the right and the left to work together, thank God the majority has been able to make that shift happen. I'm hoping, honestly, that the Georgia runoffs really work in the favor of the Dems, because the clogging that has been happening, the constipation that has been occurring where nothing is getting done, needs to stop. We need the, what do you call it? We need to get shit done. We need to get the shit to fly.
We do.
And that shit is like we need the cenopods,
Yes.
Cenopods to start working.
But
and in order for that to happen, we need to have the, oh God, I pray that the Georgia runoffs work in favor.
That'll be big.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know. It's coming. It's coming. But I think we've got a new president for sure.
Yeah.
And
it's funny. Did you feel a sense of that sense of relief, as though
yes,
like the balloon, a little pinprick went in that.
I thought I was physically sick. Yeah. I mean, I feel that we went through a really horrible thing, and I couldn't stop watching, because it can't happen that this is going to continue. How could that possibly happen? Mm-hmm. But it didn't. Mm-hmm. It didn't. By hook or by crook, it didn't.
Thanksgiving, we had a lot to give thanks for.
100%.
Yeah.
This has been so wonderful.
Thank you.
Is there anything you want to talk about before we go?
I think this was fun.
It was wonderful.
I've been asked to do a couple of these, and I just put it off and put it off and put it off, and I'm like, oh no.
Oh, no, this was.
It's like, okay, Betty, let's go.
Yeah.
Yes. So
this is great. I have a smile. I have such a warm feeling, and I'm so happy that you did this with me. Thank you so much. And I'm so happy you're you. You're Ozzie. Come on.
Oh, Betsy.
You are.
Oh, thank you so much. But
you are. I mean, when you said to me, I was editing for 9 hours, I'm thinking, oh my God, I would have like propelled through the roof.
Yes, I swear to God, my derriere has known some hard times sitting down and doing this. Yeah. But in the end, I feel that it's something that I'm also leaving for others to enjoy. So
Yeah, and mine is the dessert course of my life, because that is what this is.
yes,
And
I love yours.
and I get to do, and I thank you. And I get to interview, I mean, and then I'm going to let you finish. But I interviewed my niece, who has been sober for 15 years.
Oh,
And she works like in a doctor's office. She works for doctors and helps them do their books. And she doesn't have, she's not, you were a ballerina and a model. She's just a woman, lives in Pittsburgh, had 2 kids. It is, and her sobriety and her strength has been really one of people's favorite podcasts, because she's
great.
like kick ass like you. So, Ozzie, take care. Can you tell us again how they can get to your podcast?
Oh yeah. I'm on 8 different platforms at this time, but the main one is Anchor, ANCHOR.FM.
Okay.
F as in Frank, M as in Mary, / Ozzie, OZZIE - Stewart, STEWART. So anchor.fm / Ozzie Stewart.
Okay.
Thank you. It was fun.
Yeah.
Fun.
I'm going to call you just because. Bye.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.